My one-day kitchen entry makeover is complete after about 28 days. But hey, it's done. This video is sponsored by Matree, whose molding I used in this project. I'm building a decorative column to terminate this wall using 1x6 and 1x2 primed pine. I have detailed articles on my website for each of the molding projects that I'm showing in this video, so check the video description for links to those posts. After I finish building the column, I fill all of the seams with wood putty and move on to the plank wall, which has had an exposed 2x4 as the side for about 2 years. I'll be covering that with a 1x6. I use a combination square to mark a reveal, and then I nail a 1x2 on the front of the 1x6, lining it up with that reveal line. And now I can move on to crown molding. I usually don't want to wait for someone to help me, so I'm using clips from Fast Cap called Crown Control to help me measure and hold the crown molding so I can do it by myself. The smaller pieces, like around the column, are easy to do by myself. I have several tutorials on my website to explain installing crown molding, and one is a super easy method using templates that you can make, and it helps tremendously. I'm not using that method, but I have this method that I am using on my website as well, and I will link to both of those in the video description. The Fast Cap clips made it easier to work by myself, but it's still a way easier job to have 2 people when you do crown molding. So I waited to finish the job until Thursday when my guy that I mentor comes to my house and works with me for a few hours. And it was a good opportunity for him to do the cuts and ask lots of questions, and it was easier for me, so it worked out. After my crown went up, I finished off my plank wall by adding an applied molding over the cut end of the 1x2. Once the columns and crown molding were completely finished, I filled all of the holes with putty, caulked, sanded, and painted all of those areas. And then I moved on to creating a decorative coat rail. I have to use construction adhesive because there's a pocket hole frame on the right side and therefore nothing to nail into. I had to get creative to hold that in place so it would stay level until the adhesive set. And then I'm using the same applied molding on the top and bottom of that rail. I'm painting everything in this entry by hand with a brush and roller, and it's easier to do that as you go. I also paint the baseboards before I install them. Then I can fill the nail holes with putty, sand, and just touch up paint those areas. And that way I don't get paint all over the floors. At this point, I decide I want to paint my walls white underneath the coat rail. And then I install some hooks for the coats. I don't put any hooks on the other side of the hallway, but I did put up the rail and molding. Before I install my very last piece of baseboard, I have to cut out for a vacuum toe kick, and I use my oscillating tool for that. After I got that last piece installed, I decided to add some decorative molding to the base of my column. For this, I used a piece of the same applied molding that I used on my coat rail. I do a final paint job on everything, and voila, this entry is done. And it looks way better than when I started this project. Granted, it took a lot more than the one day I was planning on detouring from my loft, but I'm glad to have it done. Check the video description for links to the blog post detailing all of the molding projects used in this hallway. And for more information about this molding, go to matree.com. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.